Hey, what's up guys? Thank you for joining me in another episode of B is for Build. Today is gonna be a nice relaxed day. I'm here at FedEx right now to pick up some surprise package that Koenig sent me. And then later we're gonna go to the shop and we're gonna weld some things onto the 240. We're just gonna keep welding things until there ain't nothing left to weld onto there. Stay tuned. Koenig sent me a package, and due to the size, I can only assume that it's wheels. If it's 4 wheels, there's no way they're gonna fit in the Z here. If it's 2 wheels, I think we have a shot. I'm not actually sure how many they sent. Let's go find out. We're in luck. There's only 2 packages. It only takes 1 wheel to fill up that whole trunk. Look at that, Koenig got new boxes. You guys that watched the rendering episode already know what model those are, but I'll show you later on today, and I won't forget like the last time. And they're not gonna fit on the car right now because we still have the M5 rotors, brake calipers, etc., etc. But in an upcoming episode, we'll take all that off, and then we're gonna put smaller stuff on, and then we're gonna pray that those fit. All right, we're back at the shop, and I'm gonna get started troubleshooting on this bandsaw. So bandsaw, we had it for 1 day. It worked for like 1 day and it was fantastic. It was saving so much time. It's so good for making straight cuts. It's just like a tool that now that I've had it for just 1 day, I realized we cannot go without having one. The problem was like halfway through yesterday, this bandsaw started crapping out and falling apart in multiple different areas. The screw that holds this bearing set here that holds the blade in place stripped itself out, and this whole thing like fell apart. And then when that happened, our blade got a little tweaked, and shortly after that, what happened was our blade started making cuts, and it would just go down for a little bit and then it would just start going completely sideways. So I don't know if that has something to do with the saw itself or if it has to do with the blade. So I bought a new blade. I want to try a new blade before I go ahead and return this whole entire thing because it's a serious pain to return. So I figured worth the try to just try a new blade. So I'm gonna go ahead and install, this is like a premium blade. It costs like $30 just for the blade alone. So I'll go ahead and install it on the saw really quick, and then we'll give it a test cut, and hopefully that'll fix our issue. Process of changing that blade took almost an hour. It was ridiculous. I checked the blade measurements. The blade was just too small to go on. This case never wants to open. The blade was just too small to go on. It was so hard. So what you're supposed to do is loosen this. That pushes the wheel down, and then you throw the blade over. But what happened was the blade just would not fit. I ended up having to take the whole, well, loosen both of these things up, take the whole wheel off, put the blade on the wheel, and put the whole wheel assembly back on. It's just ridiculous. If this blade ever comes off, it's like, it's not even worth it to put it back on. So I checked the measurements on the blade too. It's a ½ inch larger than what this machine even calls for, which is kind of crazy. But it's time to give it a test run. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this piece of metal, and we will see if it cuts straight. After a few rounds of adjustment, I am happy to say that we got the bandsaw fixed up. So I can definitely say that if you have a blade with some like minor bends in it or tweaks in it or anything like that, that it can start to throw your alignment off on your cuts. That's what we were having happen yesterday. But new blade, new alignment, we're all set and square and everything's good. And this is gonna help us a lot today in the work that we have to do. So moving on over to here, we need to reattach the body to the frame rails. Our frame rails are now down here rather than, I don't know where they were last time, coming through here. So I need to build a piece that comes from here with a slight dip down. It needs to come down about 2 inches down to here. I want to have the least dramatic angle as possible, so we're literally going to meet up right here at this top lip, and then we're going to come up to the very, very bottom of this plate right here. The way I've been doing a lot of these things is I've been building it first out of cardboard and then I'm cutting it out of steel. I kind of prefer that method. It might be a little bit slower than some other people do it, but I've been having really good results. So maybe if you're a beginner, I'd say that's a good thing to try doing. So I'm going to cut these out of cardboard first, and then we'll go measure them and cut them out of steel. So I oddly struggled on that one. It took me a lot of attempts. These are all the attempts. But the good thing is those were quick, it was fast, easy, didn't waste any materials, and now I have something that's like so perfect and tight and everything that it'll literally hold itself in place. So that's awesome. Now I'm just gonna walk this over to the bandsaw, cut this out of the steel material, and then we'll do 2 of them, 1 for each side, and tack weld them in. All right, cool. We're officially back to where we were before we had to do the new frame rail drop downs. And we have our body, once again, tack welded to our frame. There and there. Now, 2 things that I'll address. Like, one is, obviously it's not as low as the frame rail, so it's gonna interfere with our seats a little bit, but when I measured the seats, I wanted to sit a couple inches higher, and that was when I was like way back here. So now if I'm back here, you got an even higher ceiling. I'm assuming that the seat, with the seat rails involved, that we're actually gonna land about flush with this space right here. So I think we're gonna be okay on that. The other thing is, yes, it's a little bit weaker if we're going down like this, and I'm gonna try and find a way to address that later on. I think we're gonna be completely fine as far as body rigidity. Obviously, when we add the roll cage, which ties into the body in like 5 different places, and then we tie the frame rails back in the body over there. But it is less strong, and I know that. So with that being said in mind, I'm going to go ahead and test place the main hoop for the roll cage. That's the one that goes up and up to the ceiling and over and back down. I'm gonna go ahead and test that in there right now, see where we want it to land, see if we want to build a new post for it to mount up to, or if we just want it to mount up to that like we had planned before. All right, so even with our new drop-down configuration, the basics for the roll cage stay the same. It's gonna mount onto right about here of this bar right here, and then we're gonna be able to tie it back into the body here, as well as tie it into the main frame rail, which will be pretty cool. So it'll add a lot more structure to this area. Before we go ahead and start worrying about cutting that main hoop down there, because it's gonna have to be trimmed up, we need to clean up the roof. The roof is covered in old foam and adhesive crap like that, and yeah, it's got to be cleaned up. And to do that, I bought some new gear. This is a bunch of different sanding paper discs that are 3-inchers for the 3-inch sander, like 180 grit. It's a variety of different grits for the 3-incher, and that's what I'm going to be using right here. So we got to come in here onto the roof, and we got to sand all of this different adhesive crap off and clean it all up, and then we're going to hit it with some zinc weld through primer. And that's so once we have the roll cage bar, that guy right there, once we have it welded in here, we can build the gusseting between that and the main kind of like structure part of the body. And yeah, obviously if all this crap is there, it's going to be really hard to sand around, and we won't be able to weld to it. So got to clean it all up. All right, we got that area all sanded up and primered up, and it looks fantastic. It really looks nice with it all clean and a nice fresh coat of primer on there. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see it right there. So that's zinc weld through primer, because we plan on welding to either an area around here or up here. I'm not really sure. Of course, you can't see any of that. Sorry, here or here. I'm not really sure exactly where, but we are going to weld onto it. But I wanted to get that crap off and have a nice layer of primer there and also behind it. So this is the SEM zinc weld, and it's a zinc-based weld through primer. So you can basically lay your piece of metal right on below that and then weld into it, and it'll get good adhesion with the weld, but also keep your metal from corroding. So this is an SEM product, and SEM has been kind enough to send us a ton of different products to use on this build. So huge shout out and thanks to SEM. I've always had great results with their products, and this one is no different. The spraying and the application of this right now just went on really, really great. And so I'll throw a link to SEM's website in the description. Huge thanks to them for helping us out with this build. I really appreciate that. Okay, moving on, roll cage time. We're gonna go ahead and notch the bottom of the main hoop to match with our mounting points. right, we got our main hoop all cut out and ready to roll. The cutting is the hardest part on this thing. The welding, well, I'm not even gonna weld it all the way in. Actually, I'm just gonna be tack welding it. I'm gonna let Eric do all the welding. So basically, they're gonna land right about here, and then we'll gusset it into the main plates, and we'll probably gusset it in back to here too. But for now, let's just get this baby welded in here, huh? I'm so happy with the way that this turned out. I love the look of this coming up right here. You can see it's exact match to the other side where it's just barely peeking behind this little piece right here. Does a little, like a slight bend right here, which is perfect for this like side window thing, and then comes up, runs along the roof, and then goes back down. Looks awesome. It's in the right space. It's just tack welded in there. Tomorrow we're definitely going to start working on the main halo bar, and then the A-pillar bars are going to be really, really tricky, but they're super, super important to the rest of the design that we have that goes to the front to build our strut towers out of. So that was a lot of fun. It is really, really hot in here. I gotta head to trivia. Loading into my car, and I totally realized that I forgot to show you guys the wheels. So I will, I'll show you guys the wheels right after trivia as soon as I get home. We made it! We're on time! For those of you that don't know or haven't seen for a while, this is trivia. I go to play trivia with Adrian and Chelsea and extra friends, and we never win. We never win. There's 3 scoring breaks. I'll update you guys in the middle of the scoring breaks and let you know how it's going.
And our team has no mates. Meaning first place. Cheers. We have Kennedy.
Final standing. This is it.
Third place.
Dynamite goes.
Dynamite goes. Second place.
All right, guys. Well, that is it for me today. I had an extra beer and a half at trivia, so it's gonna be a struggle bus tomorrow, but we have the rest of the roll cage to go in tomorrow, which is gonna be really exciting. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the hell out of all you guys. Please remember to subscribe and head over to bsforbuild.com if you want to support. We got all our merchandise and all our good stuff there, and also follow us, BS4Build, on Instagram. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace!